Hey, everybody. Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're talking about something really cool.
Yeah.
If you are trying to hire a MEAN Stack developer, which is great. I mean, this is a fantastic way to build a web application.
Absolutely.
But honestly, figuring out where to start, it's a little bit overwhelming, right?
Totally.
There's so much info out there.
Right.
And you just kind of get lost in it.
Absolutely.
So that's why we're going to do a deep dive into the MEAN Stack Developer's Playbook.
Okay, cool.
Now, this is from theperfectdeveloper.com.
Right.
And they are experts at this stuff.
I've heard good things.
They really are. In fact, if you want to find a developer quickly,
oh, really?
this is a great place to go.
Okay.
All you have to do is go to theperfectdeveloper.com, answer 5 quick questions.
5 quick questions.
And they'll point you to the best platform,
wow,
consultancy or agency for your needs.
That's awesome.
So it's really quite cool.
I like it.
But let's jump right into this deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
Before we get to all those great little details and all the little nitty-gritty things, maybe we should start with, what is this thing? What is the MEAN Stack?
Sure.
And what makes these developers different from other developers?
The MEAN Stack stands for MongoDB Express.js, Angular, and Node.js.
Oh.
It's a powerful combo for web apps.
Yeah.
What sets MEAN Stack developers apart is that they use JavaScript for the entire development process.
Oh, wow.
Building, testing, deploying.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a streamlined workflow that many developers find super efficient.
So one person can handle all that.
That's right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. It leads to faster development, fewer communication hiccups.
That's good.
Now, you might have heard that MEAN Stack is especially hot for real-time applications.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. In fact, that's one of my big questions.
Okay.
I was thinking, something like a chat app.
Right.
Or a live dashboard. Something like that.
Sure.
Is MEAN Stack good for that kind of real-time action?
It's a perfect fit.
Okay, good.
Node.js and MongoDB are built for speed and efficiency, which is exactly what you need when you've got data constantly updating and users interacting in real time.
Yeah.
Think about like collaborative tools where people can edit a document simultaneously.
Right.
Or those live tracking apps for deliveries. That's where the MEAN Stack shines.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So, okay, so I get it. Now it's fast. It's efficient.
Yeah.
It works in real time. But how do I know, as somebody who's hiring, how do I know if I'm getting a truly skilled MEAN Stack developer?
Okay.
What should I be looking for?
The MEAN Stack Developer's Playbook nails this one.
Okay, good.
Obviously, they need a rock-solid grasp of JavaScript.
Okay.
That's the backbone of everything.
Makes sense.
But then it gets more specific. They need to be fluent in MongoDB for data management, Express.js for building the application's architecture, and Node.js for handling all the server-side stuff.
So they got to be good at all those things.
Right.
Huh. It's a lot.
What surprised me was, you know how you said that they need to understand both front-end and back-end integration?
Yeah.
I always thought those were separate roles.
You're right. Traditionally, they often are. Yeah. But MEAN Stack developers are kind of like the Swiss Army knives of web development.
Oh.
They can work across that entire stack.
Okay.
Making that integration seamless.
Gotcha.
That's what makes them so valuable.
That makes a lot of sense because then you're not, one person's pointing at the other person saying, well, you did this, and no, you did that.
Yeah, no finger pointing.
And it gets done faster.
Right. More getting things done.
So that's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sold on the idea.
Okay. Good.
But now I'm wondering,
what kinds of projects are really best suited for MEAN Stack developers?
You'd be surprised by the range.
Okay.
The MEAN Stack Developer's Playbook gives some great examples.
Like what?
Think single-page applications, like those slick websites where the content updates dynamically without needing a full-page reload. Gmail is a classic example.
Okay, yeah.
E-commerce platforms are another perfect fit. MEAN Stack can handle all those product catalogs, user accounts, and real-time order tracking.
So they're doing the whole thing.
They're doing the whole thing.
The front end, the back end?
Yep, all of it.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And it's not just small-scale stuff.
Oh.
They can tackle large enterprise solutions, too.
Really?
Anything that needs to be scalable, handle lots of data, and maybe even incorporate real-time features.
Gotcha.
A MEAN Stack developer can step up to the plate.
So they're much more versatile than I thought.
They are very versatile.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm impressed.
Good. I'm glad.
Okay. So now for the big question.
Okay, shoot.
Money.
Oh, yeah. Everyone wants to know.
What's the salary range I should expect for all this talent?
Good question.
And does it really matter where I hire from?
Location is definitely a factor.
Yeah.
In the US, full-time MEAN Stack developers can command anywhere from $90,000 to $130,000 a year.
Okay.
In Europe, it's a bit lower, maybe $50,000 to $80,000.
Okay.
But if you're open to hiring overseas, say in India or the Philippines,
right,
you can find seasoned developers for $15,000 to $40,000 annually.
Wow. That's quite a difference.
It is.
So if you're trying to save money, going overseas is a good option.
It could be.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now I'm wrestling with another choice.
Okay, what's that?
Do I need someone full-time, part-time, or should I just go freelance?
Help.
Don't worry. The MEAN Stack Developers Playbook has got you covered.
Okay, good.
Full-time is ideal for large, ongoing projects, especially ones that require constant updates, new features, and ongoing maintenance.
If you're building something complex, or with heavy data needs, full-time offers that dedication and deep integration.
So it sounds like if you're in it for the long haul, full-time is the way to go.
It's a good option.
Okay, what about part-time?
Part-time is a sweet spot if you need reliable support, but not necessarily on a daily basis.
Okay.
Think like periodic updates, occasional bug fixes, or adding new features here and there.
Sure.
It's like having an expert on call, but without the full-time costs.
So it's that in-between.
It's the in-between.
Yeah. What about freelance?
Freelance is perfect for those one-off projects, short-term gigs, or even just to get a project off the ground. It's the ultimate flexibility. Because you bring in the expertise for exactly as long as you need it. But you know every rose has its thorn.
There's always a catch, right?
There's always a catch.
What's the potential downside to hiring a freelancer?
One thing to consider is that freelancers often juggle multiple clients. So their availability can be a bit unpredictable. And because they're not physically in the office, communication might require a bit more effort.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not right there next to them.
Exactly.
Okay, so you got to kind of weigh those pros and cons.
Weigh the pros and cons.
Okay, pretty much sold on the MEAN Stack.
Okay.
But give me the final push here.
All right, I'm ready.
Why should I choose a MEAN Stack developer over any other type of web developer? What are the real tangible advantages?
One word: speed.
Okay.
Since they use JavaScript for everything, MEAN Stack developers can build applications faster.
Okay.
Which means you can get your product out the door quicker. Plus, the MEAN Stack is known for its scalability.
Okay.
If your app suddenly gets a surge in users or data, it can handle it without breaking a sweat.
That's good.
Yes, very important.
Okay, so speed and scalability are kind of...
Yeah, those are the big ones.
The biggies. Anything else I should add to the pro list?
Absolutely. Okay. MEAN Stack is naturally geared towards real-time applications.
Right.
Thanks to Node.js's ability to juggle tons of requests simultaneously.
Okay.
And here's a bonus.
Okay.
It's all open source. So you're not locked into expensive licenses or proprietary software.
You have more freedom?
And more freedom, more flexibility.
Oh, that's great.
That's a big one.
Okay, so I get that.
Yeah.
But how do I actually gauge a developer's experience?
Okay.
What should I look for?
Okay.
To know if they're the real deal?
The MEAN Stack Developers Playbook has some fantastic advice on this.
Okay.
First off, dive into their portfolio.
Okay.
You want to see projects similar to what you have in mind. Proof that they can walk the walk.
So like if I'm trying to build a social media platform, I should look for somebody who's built a social media platform.
Exactly.
Okay.
Don't just take their word for it.
All right.
Dig into their experience with each of the 4 MEAN components. Make sure they're truly fluent in all of them. And this is key. Look for full stack experience. You want someone who can handle both the front end and back end seamlessly.
Right. That's the beauty of the MEAN Stack.
That's the beauty of the MEAN Stack.
That's what we've been talking about.
Exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
And don't forget about technical tests.
Oh, yeah. Those are important.
Because it's one thing to talk about it.
Right.
But you actually want to see them in action.
You want to see them do it.
Exactly.
Technical tests let you see how they code, how they solve problems, and how they handle pressure.
Oh, yeah.
That's important.
Okay, so let's say I've got a potential candidate. We're in the interview.
All right, we're ready.
What are some good questions to ask?
There are 5 killer questions in the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook.
Oh, good.
That are absolute gold.
Lay 'em on me.
First up, describe a recent project where you built a full stack application using MEAN.
Okay, so that's kind of getting to the big picture.
Yeah, getting the big picture.
What have you done? Tell me about it.
Exactly.
I like it.
What's next?
What else we got?
Now we get specific.
Okay.
What are some challenges you've faced with MongoDB, and how did you resolve them?
Okay, so this is really seeing if they know.
Yeah. Do they know
how to handle that data?
Exactly.
Okay.
This is where you see how well they understand data management and problem solving within that realm.
It's more than just knowing it.
Yeah.
It's knowing how to fix the problem.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's how do you handle state management in Angular applications?
Okay, so this is a little jargony.
It is a little jargony.
But basically what you're asking is how do they keep the front end running smoothly?
Exactly.
When there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Keeping it seamless for the user.
Seamless for the user.
I like it.
Good.
3 down.
2 to go.
What's next?
And then we shift gears to the back end with describe your experience with Node.js and Express.js. How do you optimize performance for back-end applications?
So now we're making sure that the engine is running right.
The engine's running smoothly.
That the whole back end is taken care of.
Exactly.
Okay.
This one reveals if they know how to build efficient and scalable systems that can handle the load.
Gotcha.
So it's not just about building it.
Right.
It's about making sure it runs smoothly.
Right. And that it can grow.
And that it can grow.
With demand.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Hit me with that final question.
Okay.
The knockout punch.
The last one's all about that crucial integration piece.
Okay.
Ask them to explain a situation where you had to troubleshoot or debug an integration issue between the front end and back end.
So this is where, the rubber meets the road.
Yes, this is the rubber meets the road.
And we see how they problem solve.
Exactly. This shows you how they handle complex problems that span the whole stack. It's about problem-solving, communication, and collaboration.
All the good things.
All the important things.
I love it.
Good.
Okay, so those are really good questions.
They are good questions.
And I feel a lot more prepared for the interview process now.
Excellent. Yeah.
So thanks to the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook.
Of course.
I feel like I'm not just winging it anymore.
You got a plan.
I got a plan.
That's what you need.
So I'm really excited about that.
Good. I'm excited for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this part of the deep dive,
okay,
I got to confess.
Oh, what is it?
The whole contract versus full-time thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is still swirling around in my head.
I understand.
So can we break that down one last time?
Sure. No problem at all. No problem at all. Deciding between full-time, part-time, or freelance really boils down to your project's needs and your comfort level. Luckily, the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook from theperfectdeveloper.com lays out a really clear framework. So let's revisit full-time first.
Okay, full-time.
Uh-huh.
That feels like kind of the most traditional route.
Yeah, it's the way it's always been done.
Yeah. What are the big wins there?
The main advantage is dedication. A full-time developer is all in on your project.
Right.
They're there every day working side by side with your team, becoming part of the company's fabric.
Right.
That kind of integration is invaluable, especially for large or complex projects that need constant attention.
Right. So it's more than just, the hours that they're putting in. It's that deeper level of involvement.
Deeper level.
But I imagine that comes with a heftier price tag, right?
It does. Full-time employees means salaries, benefits, taxes, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Those costs can add up, especially for startups or smaller companies.
Right. So full-time offers that deep commitment and integration.
Right.
But it's a bigger financial commitment.
Correct.
What about part-time?
Part-time.
When did that become the smarter choice?
Part-time is a great middle ground if you need consistent support, but maybe not a full 40 hours a week.
Right.
It's perfect for projects with ongoing maintenance, periodic updates, or those smaller feature additions that you roll out gradually.
So it's like having an expert on retainer.
Yeah, like an expert on call.
Yeah, without that full time.
Without the full cost, yeah.
Cost commitment.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty appealing, actually.
Yeah, a lot of companies go that route.
Are there any drawbacks to going the part-time route?
The main one is availability. Part-time developers often have other commitments.
Right.
So they might not always be free exactly when you need them.
Oh.
So you have to be a bit more organized and plan ahead to make sure their schedule meshes with your project's needs.
Yeah, so it's that balance between, cost effectiveness and flexibility on one hand.
Right.
But then you might have to work around their schedule on the other.
Exactly. It's finding that balance.
Okay.
And then there's the freelance option, which is kind of its own animal.
Freelance.
Yeah.
That's what I always hear such mixed things about.
It is mixed reviews for sure.
When does that make the most sense to bring in a freelancer?
Freelancers are awesome for shorter-term projects, those one-off tasks, or even just to get a project off the ground.
Okay.
It's incredibly flexible because you can hire them for exactly the time you need and then they move on.
Right. So it's really targeted expertise.
Targeted expertise.
For a specific need.
Exactly.
I'm guessing it's the most budget-friendly option too, right?
It often is. You're only paying for the hours they work on your project. No overhead costs like you'd have with a full-time or even part-time employee.
Right.
It's a super cost-effective way to get specialized skills for a limited time.
Okay, there's got to be a catch.
Well, there's always a catch.
It sounds too good to be true.
One thing to watch out for is that freelancers often juggle multiple clients, which can mean fluctuating availability.
Right.
Communication can also be a bit more challenging because they're not physically in the office.
Right. So you're kind of trading off that, close in-person collaboration for maybe the cost savings and the flexibility.
That's right.
Makes sense.
Another thing to think about is that freelancers, by nature of their work, might not have the same level of investment in your company's long-term success as someone who's on the team, whether full-time or part-time.
They're coming in, they're doing their job.
Exactly.
They're moving on.
They're moving on.
Okay, so we've got full-time for deep integration, part-time for that middle ground, and freelance for flexibility and cost-effectiveness.
Right, those are the three big options.
But choosing between those isn't the only big decision.
You're right. There's another one.
We also need to tackle this local versus overseas dilemma.
That's a big one. And the MEAN Stack Developer Playbook has some great insights on navigating that decision too.
Okay.
It all comes down to your priorities and what you're willing to trade off.
Okay.
Let's be honest. Cost is often the elephant in the room.
Right. We already talked about how hiring overseas can,
significantly impact
direct budget.
Exactly. Developers in regions like Eastern Europe, Asia, or South America often have lower salary expectations.
Right.
Which can be a huge relief if you're watching your spending closely.
So if budget is my top priority, looking at overseas talent is probably a smart move.
It's definitely worth exploring, but there are other things to consider, and time zones are a big one.
Oh, yeah. If I'm in New York and my developer is in India,
that's a big difference.
It's a pretty significant time difference to work around.
It can be, and that can make real-time collaboration tricky.
Right.
If you're envisioning a lot of back-and-forth communication, needing quick feedback, or being able to jump on a call easily.
Right.
Hiring locally might be a smoother experience.
Okay, so for those projects where quick communication is key.
Yes.
Local might be the better option.
Yeah.
Even if it means, a slightly higher cost.
It could be.
Are there any other potential hurdles when hiring overseas?
There can be. While many developers overseas are fluent in English, those subtle nuances of communication can sometimes get lost in translation.
Right.
Which can lead to misunderstandings, especially in complex projects.
Yeah. That makes sense. You really need to have that clear communication, especially when you're dealing with something as intricate as
software development.
Software development, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's the question of project complexity and compliance.
Right.
So for really complex projects, especially those that need a deep understanding of, specific industry regulations or local laws,
right,
you might feel more comfortable hiring a local developer.
You might, especially like you said, if it's a highly regulated industry like healthcare or finance, local might be the less risky option.
Just to make sure you're covering all your bases.
Covering your bases.
Okay, so hiring locally has its advantages in terms of communication, collaboration, and navigating compliance issues.
Yes.
But hiring overseas can offer significant cost savings and access to a much larger talent pool.
Much larger talent pool.
It's really a balancing act.
It is. The MEAN Stack Developer Playbook really encourages you to take a hard look at those factors and decide what's most important for your specific project and your company's bigger goals.
Right.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
He's not a one-size-fits-all.
No.
Okay, this has been so helpful.
I'm glad.
It's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
Good.
I'm ready to start the search for my perfect MEAN Stack developer.
That's great.
But I have a confession.
Okay. What's your confession?
I'm a little intimidated by the thought of actually managing a developer.
Oh, I understand.
I'm not a coder myself.
Right.
How do I know if they're doing a good job or if the project is on track?
I hear you. It's a common concern, but you don't need to be a coding whiz to effectively manage a developer.
Okay.
It's about setting clear expectations, communicating well, and using the right tools and processes to keep things moving.
Okay.
The MEAN Stack Developers Playbook has some great tips on this too.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just don't worry.
So where do I even begin? What should I be focusing on?
One of the best pieces of advice I got from the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook is to start with a rock-solid project plan.
Okay.
It might sound basic, but it's the foundation for everything.
So it's back to the fundamentals, project management 101.
Exactly. Project management 101.
I can handle that.
I know you can.
So a clear project plan is like a roadmap for everyone involved.
It's a roadmap.
Okay.
It outlines the goals, the key milestones, the timeline, and who's responsible for what.
So everybody knows, what they're working towards, what they need to do.
Exactly. It sets those expectations from the get-go.
Yeah. And it gives you, as the manager, a way to track progress.
Right.
And make sure things are moving in the right direction.
Exactly.
Okay, so detailed project plan is step one.
Step one.
What comes next?
Next up, clear communication channels. This is crucial for keeping everyone in the loop and addressing any bumps in the road quickly.
Right, because you don't want, important information to get lost in the shuffle.
No, you don't.
Or for small problems to snowball, because nobody's talking about them.
Right. Communication is key.
Exactly.
Regular check-ins, whether it's a daily stand-up meeting, a weekly progress report, or even quick messages on a chat platform can make a world of difference.
It's finding that rhythm of communication that works for the team.
Yes.
And for the project itself.
For the project.
But what about those times when I, as the non-coder, don't understand something?
Yeah.
Do I just nod along and pretend?
Not at all. Ask questions.
Okay.
If something seems unclear or off track, speak up.
Okay.
A good developer should be able to explain what they're doing in a way that makes sense to you, even if you don't have a coding background.
Right. And I think sometimes we hesitate to ask those, dumb questions.
I know.
Because we don't want to seem incompetent.
You don't want to look stupid.
But it's better to clarify.
Yes, ask questions.
Than to let things fester.
Absolutely. It helps prevent misunderstandings and costly mistakes down the line.
Right, right.
So we've got the project plan, the communication channels.
What other tips does the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook offer?
I'm all ears.
Well, they talk a lot about the power of the right tools.
Okay.
There are so many project management tools out there that can help you stay organized, track progress, and keep everyone on task.
Give me some examples.
Sure. There are tools like Trello or Asana for managing tasks.
Okay.
You can create boards and lists to visually track what needs to be done, who's doing it, and when it's due.
It's like a digital whiteboard for your project.
It is. It's a digital whiteboard.
I like that visual aspect.
Yeah, visual is good.
What else?
Then you've got tools for version control like Git, which is a lifesaver for managing changes to the code base and preventing conflicts, especially if you have multiple developers working on the same project.
Version control. Okay, so that sounds pretty essential as things get more
complex.
Complex, exactly.
And of course, you need the tools for everyday communication and collaboration.
Right. Things like Slack or Microsoft Teams that allow you to have real-time conversations, share files, and keep everyone connected.
So it's finding that combination of tools that support your team's workflow and communication style.
Exactly.
Right.
The right tools can make a world of difference in how smoothly the project runs and how effectively you can manage the developer even without being a coder yourself.
That's such a relief.
So good. I'm glad.
Okay. I'm feeling way more confident about managing a developer.
Okay.
Even without being a tech expert.
Good. That's what we want.
But there's one last thing that's been on my mind.
Okay. What's that?
Let's say I've hired this fantastic MEAN Stack developer.
Okay.
The project's moving along smoothly.
They're doing a great job.
How do I keep them happy and engaged for the long haul?
Developer retention.
Yeah.
It's the holy grail, right?
Yeah.
Well, the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook offers some great advice on that too.
Okay.
It all boils down to creating a work environment where they feel valued, challenged, and supported.
So it's not just about the paycheck.
It's not just about the paycheck.
It's about fostering that positive
culture.
Supportive culture.
Exactly. Developers, like anyone, want to work on projects that excite them.
Right.
They want to feel like they're learning and growing, and they want to be part of a team that respects their skills and contributions.
Okay, so how do I translate that into action?
Okay, good question.
Give me some concrete tips.
One of the best things you can do is give them ownership over their work.
Okay.
Let them make decisions, encourage them to be creative, and give them space to experiment.
So it's about empowering them, not micromanaging them.
Exactly. Empowering, not micromanaging.
Okay.
And make sure you're providing opportunities for them to learn and grow professionally.
Yeah.
Sending them to conferences, encouraging them to take online courses, or even setting up internal workshops where they can share knowledge. All these things show that you're invested in their development.
So you're treating them like a valuable asset to the team.
Yes.
Not just a cog in a machine. And feedback is key.
Feedback is key.
Both positive.
Positive and constructive.
Yeah, that helps them understand how they're doing, what they excel at, and where they can improve.
Exactly. It shows that you're paying attention and that you care about their progress.
And don't underestimate the power of just, a simple thank you or celebrating successes together as a team.
Yes.
Those little things go a long way.
Little things matter.
In boosting morale and camaraderie.
It's about creating that sense of shared purpose and accomplishment.
Shared purpose and accomplishment. I like it.
Good.
Okay, so create a positive culture. Empower them. Invest in their growth. Give regular feedback and show appreciation.
That's a recipe for happy developers.
Sounds like a solid plan for happy developers.
It is. And remember, happy developers are productive developers.
There you go.
And that benefits everyone.
We've covered so much ground today, from the nuts and bolts of the MEAN Stack to the finer points of hiring, managing, and even retaining developers.
It's a lot to cover.
I have to say, the MEAN Stack Developers Playbook from theperfectdeveloper.com has been an absolute game changer.
It's an amazing resource. It's got answers to pretty much every question you could have about MEAN Stack development.
I feel like I have a much clearer understanding now.
Good, I'm glad.
Of the whole landscape.
That's what we want.
And don't forget, if you want a shortcut to finding your perfect MEAN Stack developer, theperfectdeveloper.com has that fantastic 5 questions tool.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
Answer 5 quick questions about your project, and they give you personalized recommendations.
Personalized just for you.
It's like a matchmaking service for developers.
I love that analogy.
Okay, it looks like we're about out of time for this part of the deep dive. But stick around, we'll be back soon to wrap things up.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into hiring a MEAN Stack developer.
All right, the home stretch.
Yes, and this is where it really gets down to the nitty-gritty.
That's right.
The interview. Yeah, you can have the best project plan, the smoothest communication, the most amazing tools, but if you don't have the right developer on your team,
right,
it's all for nothing.
You gotta have the right person.
Exactly, and that's where those killer interview questions come in.
I am ready.
Okay, good.
The MEAN Stack Developer Playbook promised 5 essential questions.
Yes.
To help me really separate, the weed from the chaff.
The good from the bad.
The good from the bad, exactly. So lay them on me.
Okay, buckle up. Question number 1 is a classic. Can you describe a recent project where you built a full stack application using MEAN?
Okay, so it's really getting a sense of,
Yeah, getting a sense of their experience.
Their overall approach.
And approach.
Start to finish.
Uh-huh.
And I can see why that's a good starting point.
It's a good place to begin.
Yeah.
It's not just about what they built, but how they approached it.
Right.
You want to hear them talk about the challenges they faced, the decisions they made, and how they overcame obstacles. That gives you insights into their problem-solving skills and their ability to see the big picture.
It's more than just ticking off boxes.
It is much more.
Okay, what is question number 2?
Okay, question number 2. Now we get a bit more specific. What are some challenges you faced with MongoDB, and how did you resolve them?
Okay, so this one's digging into their data management skills.
Absolutely. MongoDB is all about handling that data.
Right.
So this question shows if they really have the chops to manage that data effectively.
And to really troubleshoot when things go wrong.
Yes, when things go wrong, because they will.
Because they always do.
You'll see how well they understand MongoDB's quirks, its strengths and limitations.
Okay.
And you'll get a glimpse of their problem-solving process when things get tricky.
I like it.
But
so what's next?
Question number 3 is, how do you handle state management in Angular applications?
Okay, I gotta admit, state management.
I know it sounds a little intimidating.
It's just a little jargony.
So in plain English, yes. In plain English, think of it this way. As a user interacts with an application, all sorts of data is changing behind the scenes.
Okay.
They're clicking buttons, filling out forms, navigating between pages.
Okay.
State management is all about keeping track of all those changes and making sure the application behaves consistently.
Okay.
It's about keeping things in sync so the user has a smooth, seamless experience.
Gotcha. So it's really, understanding how they keep that front end
running smoothly,
even when there's so much happening.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, exactly.
Yeah, it's about seeing if they understand those subtle but important details that make a big difference in user experience.
Okay, 3 down, 2 to go.
All right, here we go.
That's next.
Now we shift gears back to the back end with, describe your experience with Node.js and Express.js. How do you optimize performance for back-end applications?
Okay, so now we're making sure...
Now we're in the engine room.
Yes, that the engine is running smoothly.
That everything is humming along.
That back end is really taken care of.
Exactly.
Okay.
This question helps you gauge whether they understand how to build efficient, scalable back-end systems.
So again, it's not just about knowing the technology.
It's not just about the technology.
But knowing how to make it sing.
Exactly, make it sing.
Make it really work well.
You want to hear them talk about things like caching, asynchronous programming, and how they make sure that code is optimized for performance.
I'm starting to see the pattern here.
What's the pattern?
It's not just about, can you code? It's about, how do you make it really work well?
How do you make it work? Well, how do you solve the problems?
Right. How do you think about these things?
Exactly. You're not just looking for someone who can write code.
Yeah.
You're looking for someone who understands the bigger picture and can think strategically about building robust, high-performing applications.
Right. Okay, hit me with that final question.
Okay, the knockout punch.
Knockout punch.
The last one is all about the glue that holds it all together. Can you explain a situation where you had to troubleshoot or debug an integration issue between the front end and back end?
Integration. That's where it gets really messy.
That's where it gets messy. It's about making sure that those two worlds, the front end and the back end, talk to each other.
Communicate seamlessly.
Communicate seamlessly.
Okay.
This question reveals how they handle complex problems that span the whole stack.
So it's not just about, technical skills. It's about communication, collaboration.
Communication, collaboration.
Problem solving.
Problem solving, all the good stuff.
All those good things.
And when you ask these 5 questions thoughtfully and really listen to the responses, you get a surprisingly clear picture of their abilities and whether they'd be a good fit for your team.
I love it.
Good. I'm glad.
These questions are gold.
They're good questions. They'll get you the information you need.
I feel so much more prepared now to go into that interview.
Excellent.
Ask the right questions. It's like having a cheat sheet.
There you go. Your cheat sheet for success.
For success, I love it. But it's not just about, grilling them with questions.
Right. It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
You're evaluating them, but they're also evaluating you and your company.
Oh, that's right. It's easy to forget that.
It is easy to forget the best developers. They are in high demand.
Yeah.
They have options.
Right. They can go wherever they want.
They're looking for companies with interesting projects, a positive culture, and opportunities for growth.
Right. So I've got to sell my company.
You do. You have to sell your company.
A little bit.
Make it sound appealing.
I can do that.
I know you can. And hey, while we're on the topic of finding those awesome developers, don't forget about theperfectdeveloper.com.
Yes.
They've got that fantastic 5 questions tool.
I love that tool.
It can help you zero in on that perfect match for your project.
Perfect match. It's like Match.com.
It is like Match.com for developers.
For developers. It's great. All right, well, it looks like we've reached the end
already
of our MEAN Stack deep dive.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. We've covered so much.
We covered a lot of ground.
I hope you feel more confident. More prepared.
More prepared.
To really tackle this whole
MEAN Stack thing.
MEAN Stack thing. If you are out there listening and you are thinking about hiring a MEAN Stack developer.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
It's a good move.
It is a smart move.
Yeah.
And with the right resources, like theperfectdeveloper.com.
Absolutely.
And their amazing MEAN Stack Developers Playbook.
Yeah.
You can find the perfect developer.
You can find the perfect developer.
To bring your vision to life.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be a coding whiz to manage them.
You don't.
It's all about communication, clear expectations.
Communication is key.
And choosing the right tools.
Choosing the right tools.
So go out there, find your perfect MEAN Stack match.
Yes, find your match.
And get coding.
Happy coding, everyone.
Happy coding.